So I love to ice fish. This year, need some ice, but I've got some tricks. You don't need ice to ice fish. You just need water and fish. And you can make up for the ice with a rowboat. So we're going to Lake George today. I believe that that is the best fishing in this area. And I'm going to show you some of the tricks of how we go out there safely, stay warm, have fun. You got to pick the right day, but we've got the right day right now. Haven't done this. Last year it froze so quick we didn't even get out there. So I haven't done this for 2 years, but we're going to give it a whirl today. Go after some perch, some lake trout, maybe some salmon, maybe Loch Ness, whoever can find us. Hey guys, one of the tricks to do this safely is picking the right day to fish. You gotta have lower on the wind, not too cold or it's just miserable. But you can go to your same perch spots. I use that Navionics that keeps my GPS locations, gets my perch spots. If there's a little bit of a breeze, you can get a little bit beyond it and drop anchor. This stuff here, that in Lake George, that's what the fish live in, these perch weeds, the perch grass. So I get a little bit beyond my spot. You gotta be careful with the anchor. Anchor is what will, if it's a windy day, it can throw your boat over, capsize. It can kill you. It can catch onto your legs and pull you in. You gotta be careful with the anchor. But I drop it down, standard 30 some odd feet around here, and then tie it off to the bow so that the bow is breaking into the waves, and then fish to your heart's content. We're on one of my spots. Let's see what happens. How we doing?
Doubly delightful.
Oh, doubly delicious.
That felt like a big one, took out drag. I'll take 2 keepers, thank you.
We love Lake George. We don't need no pansy ice. Yikes.
Okay, this is the bigger one.
Here's our shot on.
Oh yeah!
The super shot, nice.
Get rid of the veggies and get back down there.
Alright, we're stacked up bottom now.
Right.
Unfortunately, the sun is right up in your business.
Yeah, and we can't really turn because this is the way of the wind.
We had to drop the
back
anchor.
Down. Slow rise, barely get up there and usually get fish on. The longest I've gone with that. Ooh, oh, that was a good bite, but I lost it.
We both just got some nice ones in a row. I'm actually on the board catching fish again, which makes me feel like a human.
Oh, okay.
Oh dear. What do you got? What do you got?
I think a keeper. Maybe not. That's nice, but could be double. Nope. Alright, well.
That
Not quite a keeper today. Because they're biting so well.
What do you got? What do you got?
Oh, don't lose
What is it?
It's a sunny and a perch!
Nice!
That's cool!
Sweet!
How the heck do you do that?
That's a multi-species dub.
That's really cool! We want it, right?
Oh boy, yeah, we want it, but you better make a shot.
Have we ever done that before?
I think I've done it out here.
That's cool.
That is cool.
Drag out. Ah!
Nice
That's
perch.
the one I've caught in a while. On the top fly. You better.
Yeah.
Yum. What the heck did you do? Okay.
My foot.
Let me hit our boat. Oh, you're still taping.
You back down there?
Yeah. Alright. Pretty quick bites. Until now. Oh, okay.
Alright. It's another good one?
No.
Same one?
Oh, it just got angry. Bigger, feeling. No.
Pink one.
But they're higher up now because they're biting the top fly more than the bottom, or just as much as the bottom. Where before they were only biting the bottom.
Yeah.
Slow rise, every time.
Boom. Shakalaka.
No dead sticking here.
The stick is alive and well.
Oh dear, actually I didn't even that.
Didn't do
I
no-
lost it.
Didn't do no
Shoot, that's
slow
only like
rides
the
on that
third
one.
fish I've lost.
Oh, there's stacks. I got them with Vexlar stacked.
Hang on, unless I have weeds. Nope, yeah, look at that.
Oh, What are you doing? You trying for the dubs?
Yeah. Can't top a dub of a sunny and a perch though.
Unless you had a laker and a salmon. That's a nice perch there.
Okay, we'll keep it.
Alright.
Ready? Yes.
Nice shot. So,
Come on, people.
and there they are.
It's bigger. Angry. Hello. Ooh.
Ooh.
Okay, alright. Bigger than the last bunch.
Here's your shot.
What's your shot?
Yeah, take your shot.
Oh.
Oh, it's in the hole.
Yes.
Nice.
Pretty quick bite right now. How's that pile looking?
That's looking like quite a wad of fish. That's the quick creel, available at rogersrigs.com. Also these fly rigs, etc.
I'll die if I lose it. I think I did.
Don't
No,
lose it. Don't lose it.
but I'm scared.
Don't be scared. It's just the weight of a perch. Oh! The word chubby bubby comes to mind.
That was some dead stick in action. I'm not gonna throw that. I
No.
can't. I can't do it.
Ow!
Ow! Okay.
Look at the
You have
beautiful.
mine, sir?
Oh, this could be a thumbnail for ye.
You're weird. Any Lakers on my Laker rod?
Cranking another one. Melanie's trying to catch a laker
Ah!
and a big hog perch. Now you'll notice in these guys, if you squeeze him,
I almost lost him.
he's puking up nymphs. And what we're using is actual nymph flies that are tipped with a grub or a perch eyeball, and then there's a weight on the bottom, a pretty heavy weight.
And if there's any weeds on it, they don't bite.
Yep. The advantage of heavy weight goes straight down. You need that out here in the water, in the deeper water. And then there's an adjustable drop shot swivel on the bottom that allows you to get it just the right height off bottom, because that matters a lot too. Even out here, they're about 2 feet or so up out of the weeds with a slight lift, and that's working one right after another. But if you vary from that theme, you can get skunked pretty easy. So all these items are available at rogersrigs.com, including this fancy little Lite-Byte spring bobber's creation of a quick creel. See this little doodad? It drops right in the oar lock, and usually we put a cotter pin on that.
Weeds.
Got another weed, nice. Put a cotter pin on that. Keeps your bait, or keeps your fish lively, and gives you a fun target to shoot for too. Thanks for watching all that madness. We couldn't help it. Even though Lake George wasn't frozen, there's still perch out there wanting to eat, and I would like to eat them. So I want to go over just a little bit of the tips of what we did and how to do that if you want to do that. I know Lake Erie, this is, it's a big thing, and on Lake George it can be. It's a lot of lakes where in the winter or even in the early spring, there's a chance of getting out there where the perch are still piled up on those winter grounds and they're thick and you can catch them. But there's a couple things you need to do. For sure, wear a life jacket every single time. It's dangerous. Other big thing is watch the weather. I love doing this, and I've wanted to do this for like 2 weeks, but we had to watch the weather and find a day with lowish winds, although the winds kind of picked up in the afternoon there, and reasonable temperatures. It is miserable. When you're ice fishing, you don't realize it, but if you get cold, you can move around, you can stretch your legs, you can get warm. Not so much when you're doing it like this. So you gotta pick a good day, and you gotta follow reasonable safety precautions. But then you gotta actually catch fish, otherwise people think you're nuts. In fact, I had a game warden waiting for me once at a boat launch. It was 10 degrees, And he pulled in as soon as we got in, and he said, I just have one question for you. Was it worth it? And at that day, we only had 2 perch to show for it, so it wasn't worth it. But I want to show you what our tricks are, how we try to get everything to line up so we can catch a decent mess of perch almost every time. So the places we go are usually where we've already proven we know there's perch there. I use Navionics on my phone. That's a free downloadable app that shows you the underwater topography of every lake in North America. It's amazing, and it'll locate you over it, and you can get your pinpoint. So we got right in the lake, and it turned on the electric trolling motor, and I zipped right to one of those spots. Then I drop anchor. Some days you got to drop 2 anchors. It's really important. You don't realize how easy it is when you're ice fishing because you're in one stationary spot, and you can do a micro finesse to these fish. When the boat is drifting around, not such an easy scene. So most of the day today we had a decent headwind, so we'd drop the anchor and the boat would straighten out perfect behind that wind, to the point that using that Vexilar I could watch a tungsten drop straight down because the boat wasn't swaying. If the boat sways, it is a debacle, because you're going to start, you get to the bottom and you'll drag, you'll catch into the weeds, the fish are not in that active of a mode, so they're not going to chase it the way you'd want them to, and you can have a challenge there. So 1 anchor on a decent day, it's often you need to drop a bow anchor and a stern anchor in order to keep your boat in the right spot. And you hope, you want to fish a little bit before you drop the second anchor to prove that the fish are there, because it's a little bit of a pain to move around. Drop 2 anchors, get located. I use the Vexilar or the sonar as much as possible to figure out what the height is off bottom, and then Melanie was using it, she was definitely killing them. This is just a standard Perch Fly Rig. Lots of guys in Lake Erie are using those, this kind of a thing, a tandem lure thing set up, and they're putting the emerald shiner on both. They've caught thousands of perch that way. It definitely works. There's a lot of other days though when the perch are just not in that big of an active feeding mode, or like in this lake, minnows are not a big feeding issue. They're eating nymphs, tiny nymphs, and the best way to get them a bite is to present to them a tiny nymph. That's what this thing does. We got a heavy weight on the bottom, which you need that too. It needs to drop straight down, partially because you don't want to just swing around and catch your buddy at the back end of the boat, and you want to collect the perch in one spot, not get them all mixed up. You want to get them zoned in on one spot and get back to it fast. So I got a heavy weight on the bottom. That drops straight down. In Lake George, we've got about 12 to 18 inches of weed bed. You saw that coming up on the anchor, but that's where the perch are living, that's where all their feed is. So this weight drops right into that weed bed, and I've got an adjustable slide grip on this that allows that thing to be positioned perfectly to keep the 2 flies just above the weed bed. Early on, only the bottom fly was working because the perch weren't willing to come up very high off the weeds. It was a high pressure day, it wasn't really a high feed day. Later, as the afternoon came around, you could see the perch were rising up and we were catching doubles and getting them on both flies. So that was the trick today. Another one that I did, and some days works better, today it was working but the fly rig was the best today, is a glow perch chain jig baited with a perch eye, and then up above it is a stinger. This is just another little nymph fly, and this, you can watch the Vexilar and you can watch this thing drop down on a calm enough day that you can watch on a Vexilar, and you can start working individual fish with it. Or you can figure out exactly where the weed height is, clip in your line on your swivel, on your spool, there's a line clip, you can let it go. It's 34 feet deep there. You can clip that thing in at 32 foot 6 inches and drop down at exactly the same height. And then it really matters. It's amazing. So these are decent sized perch. The boat's bouncing all over the place, and we've got to find the bite, which is really not that big of a bite. It's just a little bit of a grab, and they'll throw it back out. So that's where we use these Lite-Byte spring bobbers, which even today with a boat bobbing around, you can tell the difference between boat motion and that fish bouncing. That made a big difference for me today, to be able to detect every one of those last little light bites. So then we'd hit a spot, we'd fish it, usually basically take the cream off the top. We'd take the easiest fish. It tended to be that the bigger fish hit earlier, and then you'd be playing with some of the smaller ones after. So we'd pick up and just move sometimes 40, 50 yards, just like you would through the ice. Basically you're drilling another hole. set up a new spot and keep catching them. So that's what we did. That's some of our tricks. Thank you very much for watching. We have a website, rogersrigs.com. That's where you'll see everything that we were using today. We hand tie these things and we do our best to help you catch more fish. Please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.